Hello everyone, this is Father Michael. Welcome back to my channel, The Orthodox Experience. Today I'm making up a follow-up video on the video I posted with Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan. In that introduction to that video, I put it in a preference that, Jordan Peterson is an agnostic. And in the comments, I've noticed that some people took exception to that. They thought either I was judging the guy's belief or that that in fact he is not agnostic, that he is a Christian believer. So today's post is just to follow up on that and kind of clarify what these terms are that I use. So first off, I would say that Jordan Peterson is not an atheist. The atheist would be that they understand it to be that there's no existence of God, that there's no higher power. They're very materialistic in that sense, that only what you can see and observe, that is the only reality that there is. This is also not to be confused with the new atheist, which pretty much shows that only through empirical evidence that you can prove anything that is real. So this is basically scientism, which is pretty rampant today. But agnosticism classically means that you're a skeptic, that you don't truly deny that there's a higher power, a God, but you see no real evidence that there is for it. And so you leave yourself kind of ambiguous, open to it, but not believing in any way. Jordan Peterson, he is in no way a classical believer. He has an affinity for the Christian faith. He is well versed in the Christian scriptures, and I will present some evidence, some videos here to prove my case here. But he acts as if God exists. This is his kind of a tagline, that he is chosen to make meaning and purpose in his life by following the tenets of Christianity that he finds in the scriptures, as if God exists, as if he was here. So he's not fully committed. He's not saying that I truly believe in the Christian God, but he is saying that I'm going to act as if he did exist.
And I've said on multiple occasions that I try to act as though God exists, and that's essentially my definition of belief. When people say, do you believe in God? Belief is a multidimensional word, and one question is, well, what do you mean by believe? And for me, the proof of belief is to be found in action. And I decided that I would act as if God existed a long while back. And of course, I'm imperfect in that.
Now, to claim to be Christian, this is going to look different from different traditions. Me, as an Orthodox priest, and to be a classical Christian, you would have to be baptized into the faith and believe the tenets of the Orthodox Church. So you have to believe in the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and in fully in God's divinity, that he was crucified on the cross and he rose from the dead. Both of which you'll be hard-pressed to find that Jordan Peterson believes this fully. He believes it in a metaphorical state, and that it is some kind of a spiritual reality, but oftentimes not a physical reality.
But then there's the resurrection element of it, because I could say, well, the first thing I would say is, well, I kind of understand that psychologically. Parts of us die, and they have to die because they're in error. They have to be cast off, and we're reborn constantly as a consequence of our movement, our ascent forward. There's no movement forward without some death of the past. And so I can see the resurrection idea as a metaphor for the part of us that continues onward despite our failures and constantly reconstitutes our spirit. It's not something trivial. But then there's the insistence in the church of the bodily resurrection, which is, well, let's call that a stumbling block to modern belief. No doubt about that. That's something more than mere metaphor. And so you might ask, well, why is it insisted upon? Why isn't the proposition that you have a transcendent moral obligation to bear, to operate for the good of all things, regardless of your suffering, a hard line, no justification with the defeat of death necessitated? I'm not trying to make a fundamental critique of the idea of the resurrection, because I know there are things that I don't know. I know that for sure. And God only knows how the world is fundamentally structured. But it seems, and this is a Nietzschean criticism in some sense too, and a Freudian criticism, that seems in some real sense too good to be true.
And you see him tormented by this. He's tormented in a way that he wants to believe it, but he chooses not to believe it, because if he were to believe it, it's too real, and that faith is kind of would move him too strongly, and he's afraid to know what that would do to him. So he's not shy about admitting this.
Stand it, because I've seen sometimes the objective world and the narrative world touch. That's Jungian synchronicity. And I've seen that many times in my own life. And so in some sense, I believe it's undeniable. We have a narrative sense of the world. For me, that's been the world of morality. That's the world that tells us how to act. It's real. We treat it like it's real. It's not the objective world. But the narrative and the objective world touch. And the ultimate example of that, in principle, is supposed to be Christ. But I don't know that seems to me oddly plausible. But I still don't know what to make of it. Partly because it's too terrifying a reality to fully believe. I don't even know what would happen to you if you fully believed it.
And so this is not a critique of Jordan Peterson. Of course, I wish everyone come to the full knowledge, truth of God. But this is where he's at in his walk with God. So yes, I don't consider him a classical believer. I see him as one who struggles with who God is, and if he exists, and if he does exist, to what level does he exist in reality. So he's not an atheist. He's certainly agnostic, but more leaning towards becoming a Christian, and we should all pray for that. Those who enjoy Jordan Peterson and find some kind of edification in what he offers the world. So listen to these videos here. See what he says himself about what he believes, and also as from a spiritual standpoint, when he is kind of tormented with his doubts over the reality of who Christ is, the Son of God, truly man and truly God. You should see yourself in his shoes a little bit. Each one of us are really struggle with doubts. Even the most adherent, faithful believer, we have doubts. We're tormented and tempted with doubts. And so we are a Jordan Peterson in a sense. Sometimes we just don't know the reality that really exists in the person of Jesus. We've convinced ourselves to come to that belief. We've felt his presence, but from time to time, the darkness of the world kind of comes and attacks us and tells us, is this real? Is this real? Does God truly exist? Is he there with us? And the answer is yes. And the answer is always yes. He's there next to you because he loves you. So let's listen to what Jordan Peterson says in his own words and who he says he is. It's not me judging him. God bless you all. For those of you who are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe, share with your peer. Come back and listen some more. God bless.
It doesn't mean to state it. It means to act it out. And unless you act it out, you should be very careful about claiming it. And so I've never been comfortable saying anything other than I try to act as if God exists, because God only knows what you'd be if you truly believed. I mean, if you think about it in some sense, that's the central idea in Christianity, is that if you were capable of believing, it would be a transfiguring event, a truly transfiguring event. And I know people experience that to one degree or another, but we have no idea what the limit of that is. And we have no idea what the possibility is within each person, if they lived a life that was maximally courageous and maximally truthful, because maybe you're running at 60% or 70% or 20% and at cross purposes to yourself. God only knows what you'd be if you believed. And so, while I try to act like I believe, but I'd never claim that I manage it.